Hey everyone, it's Haley, and today I'm going to be talking about my 2016 bookish resolutions and the top books that I want to read in 2016. So last year I did my bookish resolutions video before the whole TBR, Project TBR and 0x16 things were announced, and after that I decided to completely switch focus after they are announced and focus on that. So the majority of my year focused on getting rid of my TBR. But that kind of changed in the summer. I did a whole video about this, but I was kind of burning myself out because I was reading so much and really focusing on getting rid of these books on my TBR. So I kind of burnt myself out a little bit. So basically what's going to happen this year is I have 5 resolutions and they're kind of all centered around not putting pressure on myself. So the first resolution is to read 1 classic per month. So for that reason, a lot of the books that I'm going to talk about later in this video are classics. I just want to read more classics. I don't normally read classics on my own more recently, just because I have to read them for school all the time, and I like to read at home to kind of relax and not be worrying about kind of analyzing them. Not that I'm going to analyze all the classics that I read, but I kind of do inadvertently. I just want kind of a nice relaxing read after school, but I really do want to get into more classics and kind of, I feel like reading more classics makes you more worldly, and I really like to be educated and worldly, so I'm definitely going to try and read more classics this year. My second resolution is to try and pick up more books that I haven't heard of. So with BookTube, it's fabulous. You know about a lot of books, but it also kind of sucks because you kind of lose that experience of going to the bookstore and being intrigued by a cover and then reading the synopsis and being like, wow, this sounds really cool, I'm gonna read it. Because instead you've heard about most of the books and you've heard other people's opinions, which, whether you know it or not, it does kind of influence your opinion of a book. And I really try not to have that happen. Like, I try to just read a book and just have my own thoughts, but going into that book you're like, okay, this book isn't going to be very good because you've heard that. But I really want to just go to the bookstore more often and pick up a book just because I'm intrigued by the cover or the synopsis, not because I've heard about it a lot. So I am definitely going to try and do that more this year. Number 3 is to write as much as I read. I have been a writer my whole life and I just really love writing, but since I read so much, I kind of have gotten away from writing because I feel like I'm just thinking about all these book synopses and I can't like come up with my own ideas because of that, if that makes sense. But this year I really want to try and write more and kind of grow as a writer. Number 4 is to not pressure myself to read a lot. My reading goal this year is going to be 100 books, and I think that's really attainable, but if I find throughout the year that I'm focusing way too much on that goal and it's just like really stressing me out, then I'm gonna put it down to 75 or 50 or whatever. I just want to enjoy my reading and not be stressed about that because I'm just a really driven person, and if I have a goal in mind, then I'm going to try and get it, and that's kind of what happened with Project TBR. So kind of getting away from focusing on my TBR is going to be the goal this year. I have like 54 books on my TBR right now, which I'm fine with. Like, I'm not really ashamed by that at all. If it gets any higher than 50 or like 60, then I'm going to be like, that's too many, I need to stop buying books. But I do like to have like kind of a plethora of books to choose from that I haven't read yet on my shelves. So I think that 50 in the 50s is a really good number. Not that I'm gonna, like, if it gets below 50, buy a bunch of books, but I want to kind of keep it in a reasonable range. If it gets above 50 though, then I'm going to stop buying books because that's ridiculous. But yeah, I'm not going to put a ton of pressure on myself because it's just ridiculous. Reading is for fun. Why pressure yourself? It just makes it a chore, and I don't want it to be a chore. Like, it hasn't become a chore yet, but it was definitely on the way there this summer. And number 5 is to keep up with my reviews. Now, a really big part of this channel is doing book reviews, but they are probably the video that takes the most amount of time because you need to like organize your thoughts and have coherent opinions and critiques and all that of these books that you share with people, so then you can be like, this book is good or this book is not. But it's really hard to do that when you're just talking to a camera. It's really hard to organize your thoughts sometimes. I have right now like a pile of 6 books that I still need to review that I'm going to do after this video, but I don't want to have a pile all year long. I really want to read a book, say I read read 2 books during the week, then I'm going to take a day on the weekend and film a review for them, because I really do have a lot of books that I wanted to do a review for, but by the time I went to go and film it, I couldn't remember anything I wanted to say about the book, so I just never did a review for it. So I really want to prevent that and try and do a review for most of the books that I read. Whatever ones I have a lot to say about, then I want to do a review for it. So now on to the next part of the video, which is where I talk to you guys about the top books that I want to read in 2016. I'm not going to delve into them a lot because I don't want this video to be super long, but let's get into it. So these are in no particular order, but the first one is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I have never read Margaret Atwood other than like her poems and short stories, which is really sad because this book is signed to me because I met her. So I really want to read this because this is her most popular book and I've heard amazing things about it and it seems super intriguing to me, so I do really want to read it now. I also am planning on reading Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I've read Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen and I really loved it, and I feel like Austen is just someone that I would really love, so I want to get more into her stuff. Next is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. I was going to read this book, but I just never got around to it, and I think now is the time that I'm going to get around to it. It just sounds super intriguing, and I love reading just like the original sci-fis and the original dystopians and seeing where all of this stuff kind of originated, so I think this one would be a great one to read. Next is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I have read Sylvia Plath's poetry for a class before, and I'm really intrigued by her as a person, and I think her story is really interesting. I know she's kind of sensationalized, so I really want to read the book that she wrote that kind of has to do with her experiences after college, I believe it is. I'm just super intrigued by this book and I really want to pick it up, and I need to stop saying super intrigued because I say that so often. Next is Animal Farm by George Orwell. I've read 1984 and I really enjoyed it. This one is tiny and I really just need to start reading it because I've heard such fantastic things about it and the whole concept is so interesting to me, so I just need to pick it up. Next is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I've never read the Brontes before, so I just need to stop and just read them, okay? I just need to read them already. Next is The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simons. This is the only book on here that isn't a classic, other than I also want to read Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I started it this year but never finished it. I just want to read bigger books this year, I guess, and The Bronze Horseman is definitely a big one. I've heard such amazing things about this one that I just need to pick it up. I need to not let the size intimidate me and just pick it up. That could have been really dirty. I'm just gonna stop now. And the last 4 are children's classics. I absolutely adore children's classics. They are some of my favorites. They bring me back to childhood and they're just so enjoyable. So I have 4 that I definitely want to read this year, but there are a bunch more that I also want to read. So the first one is Heidi by Johanna. Would it be Johanna? I think so. Johanna Spyri. My mom, I guess, has read this book and really enjoyed it, and I don't know much about it, but it looks really cute and it looks like it's gonna be fun, and it takes place in either Switzerland. I think it's Switzerland. I don't really know, but I'm very intrigued by it. So yeah. Next is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. This book is huge, but I've just heard such great things about it, and I do vaguely remember growing up watching the movie and really enjoying it, so I definitely want to pick this one up. And finally, the final 2 are from the same author, and that's A Secret Garden and A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett. I definitely want to read A Little Princess because I remember growing up watching this movie and I absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorites. And A Secret Garden, I kind of remember seeing the movie, not entirely though, but I think this one would be really fabulous too. I just love children's classics. So that's all for today's video. Let me know what some of your New Year's resolutions are, whether they're bookish or not, and also let me know what book you have to read in 2016. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. I put out new videos every Tuesday and Thursday, and don't forget to follow me on social media. All that stuff is linked down below. I have Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. You can find it all down below. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!